them as well as the fire department that Mr. Martino said. A round of applause for your hard work that you've done in this town, your dedication and your service,
Mr. Kakis,
and your safety. He actually gave a presentation. I want to say thank you, so thank you so much for that. But I do want to say, today we're talking about the 2% tax cap. I don't think I've heard anyone in this room, for the exception of the current town board, say that we're looking strictly at trying to cut the budget on just the police department or just the highway department or just the fire department. I think we're asking here today is that you communicate, because from what we see here today, I mean even in the past, there's still a lack of communication with all the board members, and we can only ask that you all sit down together to find out where we could trim on on all the categories, not just the police department, not just the fire department. We're asking to see everywhere that we can cut, and that you do that together through open communication. That is the only thing we ask for. We ask that you work hard, because we know that doing a budget is not just going to be done in the final hours. You only have a couple days left to be able to have this passed. It should have been done from day one. You, as the town board, you understand the debt that we've had since you knew that we were building the police court facility. You knew that, how the economy was running, but still, you only gave a 0.9% increase last year, and now this year you say to us, okay, the economy is bad, so now we're giving you a 17.66. We understood where the economy was going. We knew that this was going to last a little while. I ask you, please work together. See where you can cut, and we're not just talking police department, we're not talking fire department. We're asking you to look at the entire budget as a whole and sit down together, every one of you, and get this done for us so that the town of Hyde Park can survive. Thank you.
Mr. Kakis, I'd like to answer some of your questions and statements there. The fire department is not part of the town budget. So
I understand.
There's no cuts we can make to them.
It was just mentioned that the fire department was has their budget of so much.
What we've demonstrated is that we spend $500,000 less to staff a paid police department to protect your safety compared to mostly volunteer fire departments that are not on the road 24 hours a day. So I think that's what the demonstration there is. As far as the $202,000 in increased debt service for a police court facility, it's illegal to build a town for debt service in a year that it hasn't been occurred. So last year we could not build in $200,000 of debt service.
And no one was asking you to build it.
No, you said that we knew that it was coming. Yeah, we did know it was coming, but we couldn't charge you for debt service last year when you didn't have the debt.
It's called consolidating. It's called saving.
Sir, like I said, you cannot increase taxes last year for.
I didn't say they increased the taxes for that court facility.
You said that we knew that it was coming.
Go ahead.
So I'm not sure what the point of that statement was, unless you expected us to charge you $200,000 last year.
Go ahead.
Okay. Also, 0.9% tax increase last year. Yes, we did very, very hard work to be responsible to get it down to 0.9%. But at that time, there was no tax cap for this upcoming year. I think every municipality in the state, if they knew that there was a 2% property tax cap that was being forced on us in the middle of the cycle, that they would have been more prepared and probably would have increased taxes more last year. Absolutely. Ms. Serino said, I think she said, we should raise taxes 5% last year. Well, that would have been great if we could have, and I agree that that would have been an ideal situation, but hindsight's always 20/20. So the 0.9% was very responsible last year until you get thrown more state mandates and new state laws that you had no control over. Also, when they were talking about the property tax cap, they also mentioned mandate relief, where, okay, they'll put this 2% cap on you, but they'll also help you with some of the mandates that they pass down that will force you to exceed the 2% cap. Well, that never happened. The state mandate relief never happened. It's just we're saying, here's a 2% property tax cap. But I think if you see, they made it quite easy to override that and have given strict guidance on how to do so, I think because they realized that, one, in the middle of the cycle, it's not possible. Whereas at least the school districts, when they adopt their budget in July 1, they saw the law as much more realistic and was going to happen. So they had a little bit of time to prepare for that for their upcoming year. The town boards and municipalities had no opportunity to prepare. We already approved this budget 7 months before they threw that on as effective for this budget. So there's no way to affect last year's 0.9 to now. So cuts, like I said, if you're looking to cut money, you have to cut $760,000 out of this budget. I'll work with Ms. Serino and any other board members to find out how you can cut another $760,000 to get another 2%. But I mean, where are you going to cut that? You're going to cut it in labor. Where are your departments with labor? You have highway and you have police department. Those are the only two places that you're going to be able to find $760,000. Reason being, Mr. Kakish, I'm sure you've looked at the budget. And you do know how much of the budget police and highway take up, right?
I just want to ask you one question before I answer yours. Do you understand that there are municipalities in Dutchess County, not just Dutchess County, but actually even across the bridge, that have stayed underneath, that are able to stay underneath the 2% and are looking to stay underneath the 2%? Why can't Hyde Park?
Because
that's the only thing I'm asking for, is that right now Hyde Park, work together, communicate, every single one of you, not the majority of you, not most of you, but I'm asking for all of you to sit down together and get this thing done in a timely and the correct fashion. And that's the only way it's going to be done.
Mr. Kakish,
thank you so much.
You asked why other towns are able to do that. I believe it's because most of the towns have not used $4.7 million in fund balance over the last 6 years to balance their budgets. A lot of other towns are more fortunate to have 87 police officers like the town to the south of us. Other towns have places they can cut. A lot of places do have to cut their police departments, but they have departments 5 times the size of ours, so when they lay off 5 officers, they're okay. So that's why other towns are able to do it. So if you want to throw out here, well, why can't other people do it? We're not the only town looking to override the tax cap.
I didn't say we were the only one, but I'm just asking for Hyde Park to do what it can to lower our taxes as much as possible, to be able to say that we shouldn't even look at the 2% tax cap. Fine, you're saying it's irresponsible of you to even take off that much money, but it is also irresponsible for you not to work together and not to try to get it all done together. Thank you.
All right. To follow up on one of those comments about starting the work in the last few minutes to get a budget passed, Mr. Kakish, running for supervisor, should know how much work goes into these budgets, and he should be aware that we started this budget back in September 30th and we got it from the supervisor. So we've been working on it for well over a month. I've had numerous conversations with the supervisor, sat down for many, many hours with the supervisor, the town comptroller, the town attorney. I'm sure other board members have as well. And as far as saying that people aren't working together, you saw me after we introduced the budget in the parking lot. I had a conversation with you and Ms. Serino in the parking lot about the budget, and the three of us all agreed, I'll speak for myself at least, that I agreed that it was irresponsible to lay off 5 or 6 officers, and I don't believe that I was the only one that was shocked at that was needed to 2%. Looking at the budget, like I said, cut another $760,000. You're making it sound like that we're just looking at it tonight for the first time of cutting $760,000. I'll tell you, if we put in everything that the departments would have liked to have, that are pretty much needed by the departments, if you really put in there the things that the police department really needs, if you put in the extra guy that Highway lost a couple years ago that they really need, if you don't look at the cuts that we've made to elected official salaries, you'd be looking at a budget increase of well into the 40% range. So this board has taken dramatic action already. You can't just look at $400,000 in new debt service and just go, oh, it didn't happen. So for somebody to come up, and you've been informed of the process, we've had conversations, and anybody who's running for office on this town board, like the supervisor said, it's going to be a scary process on January 1. If you want it to be really scary, we'll pass at 2%. You won't have any services, and you'll have no money. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. We all live in this town, and we all pay taxes. Nobody wants it to go up. It's just the unfortunate reality of the situation. We cannot control the health care costs. We cannot control the retirement costs. We cannot control the pension costs. To be honest with you, if we hadn't made the cuts in the past, and if we hadn't abused the use of fund balance in the past, taxes would have already been raised. Taxes should have been raised more than they have been for the last 5 years. And then we could sit up here very clearly tonight, if they didn't lay off, if they didn't get rid of the 3 police officer positions over the past, they didn't get rid of the highway positions, and if they didn't cut those positions in the past to make the budget pass, and if they hadn't used the fund balance and raised the tax levy to where it was, I'll tell you I'd be real happy tonight because I could probably pass a 0% tax increase. But we're paying for the sins of 10 years of people trying to not raise taxes. And unfortunately, when you talk about inflation, cost of services, I don't think anybody doesn't know that the increase in healthcare costs, retirement, and pension has skyrocketed for anybody, any business, any municipality. It's gone up. So the sad reality is If we stick within the 2% tax cap, I guarantee you're going to have no services next year. The next board's going to have no money to play with, has to go out and borrow money, which will mean more debt service for next year, and then next year you'll be looking at a 30% tax increase. It's the sad reality of the situation. So we are trying to do the responsible thing, that we're still going to have the bare minimum level of service that is necessary. I mean, I'll tell you, it's a sin to leave the police department staff the way it is. You need a detective. You see all that crime. Look at the level of crimes compared to the city of Beacon. The larcenies compared to like the town of Poughkeepsie and all these places that have police departments 4, 5, 6 times the size of our department, with full detective divisions following up on these crimes. And if you look at the numbers of the state police and Dutchess County, a lot of those numbers are also in Hyde Park as well. So for somebody to think that the sheriff's departments could take it over, we'd be almost adding another 30% to the amount of larcenies and crimes that they already handle. Without adding more officers, they have to stick within 2% tax cap too. So it's responsible to look at the budget for well over a month, like the supervisor and many board members have, and I've had conversations with Sue Serino. I've been to her office to talk to her about a few of these things. We haven't sat down and gone line by line like we'd like to, but that still needs to be done. But I guarantee you, nobody's going to show me where you're going to cut $760,000 more out of this budget without drastically affecting the town's ability to provide safety to the public, to the police department, to be able to plow the roads and maintain the roads. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We are paying for the use of fund balance in the past and the lack of raising taxes when it was needed to, and by making the cuts to the point that they are today. There is no more cuts to be made. You can find another % or two, but for every %, you're cutting about another $40,000 out of the budget. Where are you going to find that? It's laying off a person. That's the reality situation. Mr. Bickford, I think you have a question?